Hi, and welcome to today's Daily Chronicle. Today is Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. This company charges disabled vets millions, even after VA said it's likely illegal. Dustin stateside, an Army base during sniper training. NPR is only using his first name because he fears retribution from the company described in this story. There are two jobs in the U.S. Army with well-earned reputations for causing concussions. One is being a breacher, blowing down locked doors and barricades. Another is firing the shoulder-mounted anti-tank weapon called the Carl Gustav. When you shoot it, it's like getting punched in the face, and you feel weirdly drunk for the next day afterwards, said Dustin, a former Army Ranger who fired that weapon dozens of times and also served as a breacher in Afghanistan. NPR is only using his first name because he fears retribution from the company described in this story. After he left the military, Dustin struggled as a civilian. He felt pretty certain he had a traumatic brain injury and PTSD. But it took years for him to apply for help from the Department of Veterans Affairs. Applying for disability benefits can be an onerous process. Plus, Dustin said the ethos of his Ranger battalion instilled a resistance to admitting weakness, even after he got out. Culturally, you don't go to sick call, he said. An older vet recommended Dustin to get help from a private company to file for VA disability benefits. Dustin reached out to start the process, but after a month went by, he said the company hadn't done much of anything to help him. Dustin emailed the company and told them to stop working on his VA claim. He wanted to cancel. He said he then applied for benefits with help free of charge from an accredited representative of the VA. But when the VA rated him 70% disabled, qualifying him for free health care and a monthly disability check, he then heard back from the company in the form of a bill for $4,500. Dustin had no idea how they even knew he'd gotten a decision from VA. I got this bill out of nowhere when I got my VA rating, which just blew me away. The company Dustin hired, Trajector Medical. NPR spent months looking into Trajector, interviewing 11 former employees and hearing from 60 veterans who hired the company. The investigation revealed a company that started with a mission to help disabled vets, but that former workers now say is intent on aggressive debt collection and maximizing profits. NPR discovered a web of corporate entities that Trajector uses to contend that it stays within the bounds of a law to protect veterans. Despite repeated written warnings from the VA that it may be breaking that law, the company continues to operate. NPR also found that the company's moneymaker is a computerized robo-dialer system named Callbot that bombards VA phone hotline meant for vets. Trajector is not accredited by the VA, and the VA won't give it any information about vets' disability pay. So it uses Callbot as a side door to sleuth that out. Trajector regularly enters social security numbers and birth dates obtained from tens of thousands of clients into the phone hotline, which reveals the amount of each veteran's monthly disability payment. When the company detects an increase, it automatically sends a bill, sometimes for as much as $20,000, and then starts calling to collect. Trajector is not alone. In recent years, scores of large and small outfits have sprung up promising to help vets apply for disability benefits. Critics call them claim sharks. The firm operates in a legal gray area, barred by federal law from officially representing vets or charging them money to prepare for their disability. Claim paperwork. They are merely helping vets from a distance to navigate the disability claim process. Trajector calls itself a medical evidence service provider. Some veterans told NPR they were happy to pay for the help, but others felt misled, particularly those who said they did most or all of the work themselves. I think that they took advantage of me and accessed the VA database to find out if I had a claim so they could make $4,500 from a guy who spent 5.5 years in the Army and 2 tours in Afghanistan, said Dustin, who refused to pay the bill. Trajector told him he couldn't cancel the contract he signed. Trajector declined repeated requests for interview, but said in a statement to NPR, "We encourage any client who feels their experience was less than satisfactory to contact us immediately." The company said its mission continues to be to help vets receive benefits if they qualify. And the contracts that vets sign do state that Trajector will use their personal information to access VA reporting systems, though none of the vets NPR spoke to said they understood the company would be keeping tabs on them so it could send them a bill. Some vets do get help, but is it legal? In theory, veterans don't need to pay for help when filing disability claims. They can get free support from accredited veteran service organizations or VSOs, such as the American Legion and Veterans of Foreign Wars. Federal law mandates that anyone helping a vet file an initial disability claim must be accredited by the VA. And that the service be free of charge. Many do get effective help this way. But some vets who use claim companies, like Trajector, told NPR they didn't know free help was available. Others said they tried but found accredited VSOs to be well-intentioned yet ineffective. And many vets said they wanted the freedom to be able to pay for help if they wanted to do so. Trajector makes an appealing sales pitch. It tells veterans that if their claim is denied, they won't owe a dime. But if they receive a disability rating from the VA, Trajector bills them a one-time amount equal to 5 times their monthly VA check. If a vet receives an increase in existing ratings, the company charges 5 times the increase in their monthly payment from VA. One veteran told NPR had a successful claim through Trajector, resulting in VA upping his rating from 10 to 80%. The bill was $17,400. Kelly, who didn't want to use his last name for the fear of his benefits being reduced by VA, is a 65-year-old Navy veteran who tried unsuccessfully to apply for disability through an accredited VSO. He'd been working as a pedicab driver in Northern California, despite a spinal condition that made this work difficult and painful. Now, with a monthly check of $3,700 from the VA, he receives free health care and has been able to stop working. Kelly told NPR, he negotiated a 10% discount from Trajector and paid the bill in installments, even though he found it a little bit steep. But if they get the job done, hopefully I don't have to worry about that again. Still, the law states that no fee or compensation of any nature can be charged for preparing and filing initial disability claims. We do not do claims consulting. The federal government has had rules on the books to protect veterans. Benefits since the Civil War era, when opportunistic lawyers were bilking vets out of their pensions. But while the law today says that anyone assisting vets with initial disability claims must be accredited and cannot charge money, companies like Trajector maintain those requirements don't apply to them. The company says it stops short of actually preparing the necessary paperwork or directly filing disability claims for veterans. Trajector said in a statement to NPR that it complies with the law and helps vets understand, identify, and document their medical conditions. We don't fill out your forms ourselves. We don't file your claims. We don't do any of that. The company's founder, Jim Hill, said in an interview posted on company's website in July, "You do it yourself, and we give you a medical evidence packet to attach when you file for claims." But that wasn't the case for some vets who spoke with NPR, who said Trajector did fill out and submit their VA paperwork. Eric Jensen, 67, served for 30 years before retiring from the Navy as a lieutenant commander in 2007. Early in his career, he was a deep water diver stationed throughout the Pacific. He wore a bulky wetsuit and a copper helmet that together weighed more than 200 pounds, which Jensen said took a toll on his body. Jensen hired Trajector in late 2023 to help him claim disability for psoriatic arthritis that was waking him in the night with painful and frozen joints. He completed a detailed questionnaire from the company about his medical history and a service record. Trajector then sent Jensen an email with a link to review and submit his medical evidence packet. Jensen later shared the link with NPR and allowed reporters to observe him accessing the document that the link led to. It included 28 pages of completed VA disability claim forms, including statements about Jensen's medical conditions written in first person, none of which he said he wrote. The forms were preceded by an official VA fax cover sheet with the agency's seal. All of that was filled out, he said. Jensen also said he felt the paperwork exaggerated his arthritis symptoms and stated something that he felt was just wrong, that his sleep apnea was caused by service-related knee injuries. He said the two were not even closely related. and that he didn't plan to file for sleep apnea in the first place. Jensen didn't want it to seem like he was lying on his forms. He became a registered nurse in the Navy after 15 years as a diver. So he had a strong opinions on how to present his medical history. He told NPR that he planned to correct the inaccurate information that Trajector directed in his claim, but accidentally clicked submit on the paperwork. Jensen then saw a confirmation screen that said, "Your application has been successfully faxed to VA." Trajector denies that the company files forms. "We do not do claims consulting, claims preparation, or filing," said Steven Zanofsky's Trajector's Director of Communications and Public Relations in an email to NPR. NPR asked Trajector to explain the apparent contradiction between such statements and the VA forms that had been filled out for Jensen, along with a screenshot of his fax confirmation. "The screenshot you provided is not from Trajector Medical, nor does it show or state that it is," Zanofsky said. "We stand by our statements." A separate site. The link Jensen clicked to review and submit has originated from a Trajector email and opened the site called Benefit Karma. Zanofsky characterized Benefit Karma as a safe and separate external software platform which is freely and publicly available for use by all, which allows veterans to populate, review, and edit files their own forms. Documents show Benefit Karma has ties to Trajector. The trademark for Benefit Karma is held by Ampri Holdings, an LLC registered to Trajector founders Jim Hill and Gina Erb. Benefit Karma and Ampri Holdings use the same Cheyenne, Wyoming business address that is listed in Trajector's last annual report. To the Florida Secretary of State as Jim Hill's address. Former employee of Trajector Inc. Trajector's medical parent company said Benefit Karma was a new product Trajectory Inc. launched in 2024. It was considered another vertical of the business. The employee said, "How Trajector is connected to Benefit Karma." NPR observed the filing process with additional veterans, following links in Trajector emails that directed them to Benefit Karma. There, they were able to review and submit prepared VA forms. Those vets told NPR they did not populate those forms as Zanofsky described, because they were already completed. Once they clicked submit, they could view a confirmation page stating that their disability claims had been faxed to VA. "They made it sound like I wrote that," Kelly told NPR while reviewing his VA forms from Trajector. "Those aren't my words. I'm not going to lie." NPR spoke to former VA Inspector General Michael Missal, who served as the agency's top watchdog from 2016 to January 2025, about how Trajector uses Benefit Karma to outsource the submission of disability claims. "I don't think that's a clever way to get around the law," says Missal. The Trajector being involved, and whether it's a company that they're behind that actually pushes the button, they're the ones that's really facilitating the file. It certainly violates the spirit, and I would say it would violate the meaning of the law as well. Jensen's claims resulted in VA increasing his existing rate from 60 to 100% disabled. His claim package from Trajector also included 31 pages of supplementary medical evidence and written opinions from medical professionals. Still, he told NPR he wished he had sought free help instead of from VFW, where he is a member. I'm embarrassed to say I ended up paying $12,000, said Jensen. Callbot. That was the bloodhound. Navy veteran Vernell Armstrong hired Trajector last year to claim complications from an eye surgery she had while in service. But her claim was denied. Armstrong said she gave the company her decision letter and thought she was done dealing with them. She then undertook a separate process entirely on her own to appeal the decision with VA. After receiving a favorable rating from the VA this year and not speaking with a Trajector employee for months, she said Armstrong was more than surprised to see a bill of $877.55 arrive in her inbox. It said, "Congratulations on your rate increase." And I said, "How the hell, pardon my French, how do y'all know?" Because I haven't talked to anybody and haven't told anybody anything. When Trajector staff began calling and emailing her multiple times a week to pursue payment, Armstrong said she refused to pay. "Why are y'all billing me for something that you didn't do?" she asked. "I did all of this legwork on my own." The answer likely lies in that workers inside the company are referred to as Callbot. Callbot is a computerized auto-dialing system that persistently calls into the VA benefits hotline, a system meant for veterans to inquire about the amount in their monthly disability check. Trajector asks its clients to report any rating increase they receive to the company in an honor system. But the company also uses the hotline as a side door to track the status of the vet's claims. Former workers told NPR that in early days of the company, the small staff would divvy up a printed list containing each client's name, social security, and birthday. They would call the VA hotline, input the numbers manually, and record the output, the vet's latest check amount. If the amount was higher than what the veteran was receiving when they hired the company, it triggered an invoice. Trajector's client list grew. Software developers built a program to automate the calls, according to a former tech worker. They named it Callbot. They'd get their increase, and then Callbot would pick up the change. One software engineer told NPR. That was the bloodhound. Callbot could make as many as 20 concurrent calls to the VA and would run for days at a time on behalf of tens of thousands of veterans, former employees said. "We were calling and abusing that phone line," a software developer told NPR. Former workers told NPR that at one point the VA began blocking the numbers of Trajector was using the hotline, in turn choking off collections and revenue for the company. NPR asked VA to weigh in on how claim consulting companies use the benefits hotline, but VA declined to comment. When NPR spoke to Marine Corps veteran Enrique Miranda Cardenas about how Trajectory Callbot system works, he said he didn't think the company should be monitoring him and other vets that way. Miranda Cardenas hired Trajector last year for help claiming disability linked to injuries sustained in a car crash while he was deployed to Japan in the 90s. It's a misuse of people's trust and system. The system is made up for veterans to ensure that they're being updated, said Miranda Cardenas. While vets told NPR they had no idea Trajector was tracking their claims this way, They had agreed in their contracts to let the company use personally identifying information to access VA reporting systems. Trajectory Medical only accesses information that a veteran has expressly authorized us in writing to access on their behalf, the company said in a statement to NPR. Former employees on Trajectory's software and invoicing teams told NPR that the company failed to purge inactive clients like Armstrong from Callbot's list, despite repeated client complaints. In turn, the system can't distinguish whether Trajectory's team did the work to generate an increase. They said management was aware that the Callbot system was making many veterans upset, but it also drives profit. The problem is that with that system, it doesn't tell you why they got an increase. It was all blind, an invoicer said. There was no stopping point. Every increase that they got after that, we would just assume that it was by us. Trajectory did not directly acknowledge its use of Callbot. A client agrees in their signed service agreement to self-report to us if they received a rating increase. Trajectory told NPR in a statement, if a client does not self-report, we will send them a draft invoice and instruct them to call us if they believe there is an error. The U.S. Transportation Department is urging air passengers to be on good behavior. The American Airlines flight attendant serves drinks to passengers after departing Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. The U.S. Department of Transportation is launching what it's calling a civility campaign to promote good behavior on flights and at airports. As the busy holiday travel season gets underway, the department is naming the campaign The Golden Age of Travel Starts With You, and announced the effort in a press release last week. The DAW shared a 1.5-minute video that begins with images of airline travelers of past decades, set to Frank Sinatra's Come Fly With Me. The video then shifts abruptly to tense music and video clips of bare feet swiping on an in-flight monitor, and then a series of brawls on flights. Secretary Sean Duffy then poses 5 questions he says every air traveler should ask themselves this holiday season. The questions include, are you helping a pregnant woman put her bag in the overhead bin? Are you dressing with respect? And are you saying thank you to your flight attendants and pilots? The campaign is intended to jumpstart a nationwide conversation around how we can all restore courtesy and class to air travel. The press release reads, this won't just make the travel experience better for the flying public, it will ensure the safety of passengers, gate workers, flight attendants, and pilots. The DOT cites a rise in bad behavior on board. The agency says there have been 13,800 incidents involving unruly passengers since 2021. Since 2019, the Federal Aviation Administration has seen a 400% increase in in-flight outbursts, including to the Transportation Department. In 2023, the FAA reported nearly 2,000 incidents, which was a sharp decline from the height of pandemic when mask mandates fueled many disputes. The FAA expects this Thanksgiving holiday to be the busiest for air travel in 15 years, with Tuesday seeing the most air travelers. AAA projects 6 million people will be flying in the U.S. for the Thanksgiving holiday.